Hello and welcome to Smoke Mayor's Gaming and Car Talk. This is part one of probably a short series of videos on recovering in DayZ. So I'd got killed and I'd spawned near the coast, and at this point I'd run one town in without really getting much in the way of equipment. I think I'd grabbed that jam, a few bullets, had found the IJ-70, a long stick and some better clothes. And at this point, I was trying to figure out where I was, and my daughter actually said, "Why don't you stream, and then I can look at it and I can see if I can figure out where you are before you get to a sign." And it actually turned out to be quite a good recovery run this did, because I got killed and I had some good stuff, but I had quite an epic journey to get there, and not a lot of time before it despawned. So the first thing I'm doing here is picking up this farming hoe. You wouldn't think it, but this kind of counts as a bladed object, which means you can make rags out of it. And although you can use them for bandages, ideally if you've disinfected them first, otherwise you can pick up a nasty disease. The main thought was I want to gather enough rags that I can make some rope, because if you get enough rope, then you can make a fishing rod, and then you can be self-sufficient. You know, if you're low on food, you can always go and find a pool or get to the sea, you can catch some fish, then you can get the materials for fire, and you can make a fire to cook it. Then you can either use a cook stand or something, or a stove that's in-house, or you can just sharpen a stick and sit there and roast your fish over the open fire. So we've got a few rags there, and we're going to check out this garage here, but I don't think there was much there. There is a campfire tripod which I take, but I don't think I actually end up using it. I tend to like to find a house to cook in, just for the convenience factor. And at this point I'm looking for a sign so that I can report to my daughter, who's watching the stream, exactly where I am. And we use an app called iSurvive, which basically tells you where different things spawn. It tells you the name of towns, and you can put markers on if you're in a group with somebody and show where you are and what you've been doing. So we use that to try and meet up in this game. So at this point, she is advising me on where to go to get to where we died. Well, I died. She was okay. She survived. But I got killed in that encounter. But she can't pick up all the stuff that I was carrying. So I really want to try and get there before it despawns. Now, I've not got a lot in the way of food, but actually the jam is a really rich source of energy, and it's quite filling. So if you find something like this, anything in a jar that's very energy rich, if you run a bit, eat a little bit, get yourself into yellow, then get on your way again. I don't like to eat it all. I don't understand the mechanics of when your hunger goes up and down more quickly and more slowly, but I feel like if your hunger is, if you fill yourself right up to the brim, then your hunger seems to go down quite quickly. So I feel like it's probably more efficient to eat when you're in yellow or when you're just into white. Now, I found a dry sack here, and in ways it's not very useful initially, because you can put stuff in it and it'll keep it dry, but it's also something you've got to then carry along. However, having got the rags I've got, it occurred to me that if I can find some more rope, I can actually make a serviceable small backpack out of this item. So here we're just trying to find some more rags, something so I can turn this into a rudimentary basic backpack. And again, that's the town there. It's we call it Nonha, I think, not to be confused with Nonra, but I have no idea how you pronounce these Eastern European place names. But we're going to run up to the farmhouse and see if we can find some more rags. I think at this point I was just going back to check that sign again, because I think my daughter thought it was Nonra, but it's not. It's actually Nonha or Nonka or something, which is it's kind of on the east side of the area. And we're actually entering it here rather than leaving it. Which meant I had pretty big journey to go because I was trying to get to a place called Shakovka, which is got a medical centre and a police station. So first things first, we want to check out the shed, see what we've got in there. Cable reel would be useful, but it's quite a heavy thing to carry. But not really that useful unless you've got a generator and you're setting the base up, and you're probably going to want a vehicle to transport that. Now, you can't make rags out of raincoats. It'll only allow you to make armbands, and the insulation on them isn't great, so I really couldn't afford the space to take it, and it was actually not actually as good as a bomber jacket. So I decided to carry on following this road into Nonhai itself. Luckily, it's quite a nice day. It's you tend to find it has a big impact on your health if you're trying to get through here with that's when it's wet and cold and things. That was a corrugated sheet, which again is a useful item for base building, but at the moment we're not really at that stage. You're going to need saws and axes to get lumber and timber and build gates and fences and hammers and nails to make use of that. So we're going to check out this house here, and again we're just looking for, got a few rounds of ammunition. I don't think for a gun which I can actually have, but I've got some sunglasses as well, always useful. There is a zombie somewhere around because I heard it, but at the moment we're just going to try and avoid combat as much as possible. Just check this house out here. Nothing. I tend to shut doors behind me because the zombies can't seem to figure out how to open doors, and it just means you're not going to get one sneaking up behind you and taking you out while you're trying to sort yourself out. Again, we'll check out this room here. Got ourselves a gas canister there. That can be used for a lamp, or you can get a small camp stove which you can put on it, which means you can cook things out, make it a campfire. I often think because of the ease of the materials to make an actual wood campfire, it's not worth the luggage space. I guess if you had a base somewhere and you wanted a more permanent cooking setup, it might be useful. Now this was interesting. If you see a zombie with a backpack, that means you tend to be able to loot it, so that would negate the need to make rope and to make that dry sack into a backpack. All you actually need is rope and a dry sack to make a backpack, but it doesn't have great carrying capacity. I think off the top of my head it will give you 20 storage, but the hiking backpack gives you more like, I'm sure it's 30 or something. We'll find out in a minute, I'm sure. Again, a bit risky using the gun against the zombies here, but it's kind of safe to shoot them through the windows. That the problem you have is, if there's other zombies in the area, you can attract a ton of zombies, and you can end up being quite swamped with them and burning through a lot of ammunition. Sometimes you've got the right melee weapons and they're hanging around the right windows. You can actually melee them through the windows, but I'd seen that weren't many zombies around, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to cap him. So we've got ourselves a backpack now, hiking backpack that's got pretty good capacity, 42 actually, so not a mountain backpack. They go up to 80 capacity, but 42 is pretty good, pretty serviceable. We've also got a better melee weapon there. Still need to keep hold of the hoe because I'm going to need something to make bandages out of and rags out of and things like that. But at this stage things are going reasonable. We could do with finding some more food. I'm staying out of the town and trying to see whether there's zombies in the town before I actually go and explore it. I often find these buildings don't tend to be great. The bottom floor is often boarded up. Sometimes there's a couple of rooms upstairs and you can find items, but you don't tend to really. That leather sewing kit's potentially quite useful. You could use that to repair shoes, and if you find a cow, for example, and a bag of garden lime, you can kill the cow, skin it with a knife, and then cure the leather and use a leather sewing kit, I think, to make a backpack. And it's a pretty decent backpack as well. So we're going to check the pub out, and we're also going to have a drink because we're a bit low on thirst. We don't have a water bottle at the moment, which is kind of annoying. But if you look on iSurvive, you can see where the water taps are, and it takes a much longer time to fill up on water just drinking from your hands. If you can, and if you do get a bottle, you're better off filling the bottle, drinking it dry, and then refilling it. But in this case, I'm just trying to get back to my stuff relatively quickly. So the plan is find the water tap, which is somewhere around here, get a drink, and then get on to the next town so I can hopefully get back to my stuff before it despawns. Sadly, the bus stops don't have a function in DayZ. Certainly I've never seen a bus arrive. Never actually seen a car either. I know they are available in the game, and I've seen lots of wrecked ones. And once we did actually find one that was repairable in a large town called Cherno, but we couldn't actually get all the stuff together to get it working. And when we spawned back in after a server reset, it had gone anyway. Again, this car is a wrecked one that you can't repair, as far as I'm aware. I think that the main telltale sign is if the interior looks in reasonable condition, it might be a repairable one. So, I think we're still looking for the water tap here, and I think it's behind this. And again, sometimes you can actually melee the infected over a fence like this, and it makes them that a little bit harder for them to get to you. And again, that's quite helpful. We've got a knife there, so we can make rags with that, and we've got a can of Fanta. And we're going to head over this way here. We're red for thirst now, so we desperately need a drink. But I've looked on iSurvive, there's definitely a water tap in this town. It's just a question of being able to read the map and identify the spot. I think at this point here I'm just checking the map on my iPhone. And I'm looking at where the pub is, which is marked on the map. I'm trying to figure out where, in relation to the pub, the tap is. I'm also probably having a conversation with my daughter about what the best plan of action is once I've got my thirst back up. I want to save the can, ideally, because if it's a long walk to the next town, I have to do a bit of running and that sort of thing. It might be that, you know what, I'm gonna have to have a drink halfway. So we've looked up where the water tap is, and we're headed there now. And I think I've just seen it behind this. Do we just check these out first? I don't recall there being anything useful in here. Sometimes you can find tools and kind of more industrial things. I think that was a tarp on the floor there that there might be, which is useful if you want to build a shelter. In fact, I've not actually been to a water tap in this town, so I'm starting to think maybe there wasn't actually one here, which could be potentially problematic. I have got that can of Fanta, which again could see me through till we get to the next town. And I can hear an infected coming for me. Nowhere to hide this time, so I've got to try and take him out. I like to try and, with the bat, just time it so they run onto it. I don't know if it does any more damage, but it does seem to work. If you're using your fists, I prefer to block the first hit, block the second hit, and then as I was kind of recovering and winding up, give them a few punches to the face. Yeah, so we're desperately going to need that drink now. Sugary drinks do also raise your hunger a bit, so that is a little bit of a double bonus. And foods will also raise your thirst a bit, some more than others. Jam's pretty good, gives you a bit of food, quite a bit of water. Something like dry crackers, that won't give you much on the thirst side of things. Could really do with a water bottle, so we can fill it up and take some water with us. Okay, we're just going to check in there, so that is netting. Useful for base building. You can use it to make a fishing net. This card is non-repairable. And we're just looking around here, thinking about where to go next. And I think we're going to probably check this house out and then move on. Sometimes there's something in those rooms downstairs, sometimes there's something upstairs. I think we're actually onto another part of the same town here, so we may actually be able to tap soon. Hiking jacket's a good jacket, but that one's quite damaged, and actually the bomber jacket's pretty good as well. We've got a rifle there, which is a reasonably good weapon, but given the space we've got, it's a question whether to take it. If I hadn't got the knife, I would probably have kept the hoe, because it's vital to be able to make rags and things like that. But because we've got a knife, we don't really need that hoe anymore unless we want to do some actual farming. So we're going to swap it for the rifle. Then we're going to make our way this way. I'll probably check out this house here, see if there's anything useful. Sometimes you can get really trapped in by the door in this game. It can be quite annoying. So we've got a helmet and a car battery there. Car battery would be useful if we had a repairable car, but we don't appear to. So we're just going to move on, explore a couple more houses, hopefully find a bit of food, bit of drink, enough supplies basically just to get to the next town. Collar dresser, useful for making rags, but at the moment we're more focused on just getting some food, getting some drink and getting on. So the canned pizzas are good. That'll get your thirst up and your hunger up. I'm going to take that. We've only put the baseball bat down for the fact of we haven't got enough space for everything. And I've basically put the canned pizzas down now, and I'm using the crowbar to open them, which I imagine would be quite challenging in real life, but there you go. He's managed it, so we can eat those canned pizzas, get the thirst, get the hunger up. Then we'll pick up the bat and we'll move on to the next town. If you've got like a baseball bat and a crowbar, I prefer to use the baseball bat for combat because it's literally useful just for that. Whereas the crowbar is also useful for opening things in. Although it's very durable and it doesn't get damaged very easily, it will take some wear and tear if you start using it for melee. So, you know, use your bat up first. When that's wrecked and and it's ruined, which you'll know because you'll start dropping it every time you make a hit with it. At that point, leave it and go to the crowbar and you're probably fine, but you may as well get that little bit of extra use out of it. Not going to bother the kitchen timer. You can use that to distract wolves, I'm told, or make certain things, but not really into that part of the game yet. Just checking out those doors there, make sure there's nothing important. Probably not. And we're going to move on. It's actually a surprisingly big town here, but I think we probably are coming up to the point where... Yeah, so this is a hunting shop here, so sometimes you can find ammunition in here, flags, boots, that sort of thing. You get quite a lot of these around the area. Not a lot in this one. Just checking what we've got there. Have a quick look in here. I can hear a zombie. They can spawn inside, but they don't tend to. They're usually outside. And I could definitely hear it there. The motorbike helmets are quite good protection and they're quite good insulation, but they do restrict your vision ever so slightly. And if you're using the in-game chat, proximity chat, it will affect your... So I get the jump on this guy, really, policeman here. Police stations are always good for guns, ammunition, and some of the police clothes you find are actually pretty decent. Quick check up here, make sure there's nothing we need. We've obviously aggroed some zombies outside, but what you can do is you can lie down on the floor and keep still, and then just wait for like 5 minutes or so, and they tend to de-aggro and just wander off and do something else. So that is an option to solve that problem. That's what we're going to try and do now, and at that point we will call it a day, and we'll pick up this in the next episode. So there we go, that's episode 1 of recovering from a death in DayZ. Hope you'll join me for part 2, when we'll hopefully find that water tank, get a thirst fully brimmed up, and move on to the next town and see if we can get our stuff back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.